Did Jamie Spears finally do something good? Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and we finally have the documents. I'm so grateful to have them via Christopher Meltzer, who's also here to join us. Welcome, Christopher.
Thanks, Andy. It's great to get those documents overnight and being able to break it down.
Yeah, thanks everybody who tuned in last night. We got our initial commentary speculation out of the way, but now we have the official documents to finally report on this story. Was the media correct? Has Jamie filed to end the conservatorship? And now that we have the documents, Christopher, to me, I want to get your perspective, but it seems to me like this is a pretty good document for the case of Britney. There is one caveat at the end, which we'll get to, but overall, do you feel like Jamie actually did something good here in a way?
Well, it is good news. I mean, it's hard to accept anything that Jamie would do as good news, but this is a great development. And in a way, it's both the waving of a white flag, terms of surrender, and also a media stunt. But hey, I'll take whatever we can get that supports ending the conservatorship. And he is now saying, I want to end the conservatorship. And we're going to go into the detail about why he's saying it and what exactly he's doing. But hey, now we have Jamie saying it should end, Britney saying it should end, Jody Montgomery, and the medical team.
Right. Who's left to sort of say no? The judge, I guess, right? But when everybody involved, his mom, the mom and dad who put her in it, to me, are the most important, the medical experts, Jody. It seems like it's now a done deal. Now, we have a lot of reasons behind it, but I do want to go through the document sort of just quickly so you guys understand that we did read it. Christopher, I mean, I read through it. It's really is, as we break down, for 13 years has been under conservatorship. He goes into this sort of explaining. She entered into this conservatorship voluntarily. I'm calling BS on that. To this day, her attorneys have filed a petition to terminate this conservatorship. The conservatorship has helped Ms. Spears get through a major life crisis. Again, what? I thought they had to do it because she was, having so many problems up until even this year, Christopher. So it's a lot of about face of sort of acknowledging, well, this was to rebuild her career, put her finances in order, but recently things have changed. Britney is now outspoken in her frustration with the level of control imposed by the conservatorship and has pleaded with this court to let her have her life back. In recent months, she has attended 2 court proceedings, has certainly made her wishes known about the conservatorship, and has asked this court directly to end this conservatorship. Now, again, we can read all this, but the document pretty much is just saying she wants out. She wants to have a baby as it continues here. She wants, not to have as much supervision or oversight. All of this sounds great, but what's frustrating as I read it, and I want to get your legal analysis, Christopher, it's like, one, why now? This is a little too late. You've been fighting against this forever. She has not had any opportunity for Ingham or any of her lawyers to actually properly help her and tell her what she's allowed to do. They've been misleading her and seemingly tricking her this whole time and not really being clear what her rights were. But now Jamie is attempting to sort of say, well, you always could have gotten out. You and your lawyer could have gotten out. I didn't hold you. Clearly the past year while Jody's been in charge, you've had a lot of trouble. So yeah, if that's the case, then we should probably end it. It really does seem like Jamie's sort of ignoring the whole 13 years where he was very involved through a lot of it, and now suddenly trying to play like the savior here. Is that what you gather as well?
Well, that's exactly right. What recent events have changed? Nothing. The only thing that's happened recently is that Britney has been outspoken about it. He's right about that. And now there's tremendous scrutiny on it. And remember that Jamie filed a document only 2 weeks ago saying that he would resign under certain conditions. But in that document, he was saying that this conservatorship was a great thing. It was very beneficial and necessary for her. And he touted all the great things it has done for his daughter in that role of conservator. And he was only saying, hey, I'll step aside because she doesn't want me. So what's changed really in 2 weeks? Nothing. So it's not to be believed what he's saying, or at least the reasons why he's doing this are not to be believed. But hey, now he's agreeing with what Britney wants. So we'll take that.
Now, here's where things get interesting because, as he's saying here, Mr. Jamie does not know why a petition to terminate the conservatorship has not yet been filed. which is frustrating because Britney clearly didn't think she could. And so now he's sort of using the control they had over her and sort of the mental break that they've made her have by withholding custody and telling her to do all these things. Now they're saying, well, you could have got out at any time, just like it was like that the rehab facility she went to, where they were like, it was for her best interest, where it was clearly not. Her children had to come visit her there. She clearly had to go there in order to get visitation, etc. But Jamie, however, has heard his daughter, and she now is pleading for the court to end this conservatorship. Jamie believes that Britney is entitled to have this court now seriously consider whether this conservatorship is no longer required. And that's the biggest question I have here is, who decides it now? Because if the parents were involved, right, and the parents were the ones who sort of fought for this, and then the court said, okay, the parents have said this, they've provided the evidence, great, let's do it. But now both parents have gone on record saying she doesn't need it. Medical experts have said she doesn't need it. Jody Montgomery's saying she doesn't need it. Can the court still say, well, I think she needs it?
Well, that is possible because this is court imposed. It was requested by Jamie, but ordered by the court, and only the court can lift it. So the court could say, hey, I'm not convinced, or I want conditions, or I want some transitional period. The court can do any of that. And for Jamie to say this was all voluntary, again, it's inconsistent with prior positions that he took. It was over a year ago that Sam Ingham tried to have Jamie removed. It's the only thing that Ingham did that was right. And Jamie vigorously opposed that. So if this was voluntary, we would have seen Jamie coming in then saying, well, hey, if she doesn't want me in there, I'll leave, or she doesn't even need the conservatorship at all. There were allegations that Ingham put in that document, which, like I say, is a good thing that Ingham did, saying she doesn't like her dad, she's scared of her dad, wants her dad out. And why didn't he listen then? So this is very late. But the court was going to have to figure all this out on September 29th, and that's a lot to ask for in less than 3 hours.
And that's how long they have on this docket. So will they request more? Could there be a continuation? What do you think is likely in that proceeding?
What I'm foreseeing is, because this is set at 1:30 p.m. Pacific on September 29th, the court closes at 4:30 and takes an afternoon break. So we have less than 3 hours of court time. And we have all these issues going on. So what I'm hoping the court will do is say, let's temporarily suspend all these powers that are over Britney and restore her freedom. She walks out the door a free person, and then table all of the financial disputes for a later day. And that, because the first thing, if it's like triage, right? I mean, if you're treating somebody, you got to deal with the life-threatening big stuff first, and you leave the little cuts and scrapes for later. So the big issue is liberty, freedom. That needs to be restored on the 29th. Everyone's in agree with that.
Right.
Whether Holland and Knight gets their $1.2 million or $1.3 million, whether Jamie gets his compensation, dealing with the bond, all this other stuff, that can wait. So they should just put a big pause button on all that stuff, restore her freedom, and then we can have all kinds of hearings over that. That's what the court should do.
So, all right. So, and just to make sure we've gone through everything else in here, he then plays the best clips from the testimony of Britney's. It's all here. Sorry, I want my life back. In fact, there's a whole transcript of Britney's session there, and her coming forward, and then admits to all this probate court stuff. Christopher, I mean, all of this is all to sort of admit that they have the authority to terminate this conservatorship if it's no longer required, right? So this is
he's quoting statements from June 23. I mean, it's 3 months ago.
Right?
Is he just listening to it now? Just reading it now? He was there. He was listening. It's like, oh, I just realized what she said. June 23.
Right.
So that's what I'm just saying. It's just unbelievable.
It's very strange, right? He was fighting this like, oh, I don't understand why I need to leave, whatever. But except he's always playing dumb to it all. Like, I wasn't privy to any of this. I didn't know it was the doctors. I checked, copied all the signed all the checks, but I didn't ever do any homework on why these checks were being written. So all of this document. Is there anything else here sort of worthy of going? I mean, I know there's one little point we're going to get to at the very end, Christopher, but all of this is all good for Britney's team to have him in writing acknowledge that she doesn't really need it, correct?
Yeah, so he's trying to basically steal the thunder or take the spotlight, and basically, recast himself as the hero, because we did see all of the headlines yesterday, just like with the fake resignation one, where, hey, Dad wants this to end. Dad wants to protect daughter. Dad agrees with daughter. All those are the headlines, and so he's now recasting himself in that light, and saying like, hey, my daughter hasn't even asked that this end, which is true. She has not filed a petition to end this conservatorship.
Right, and
I'm going to be the hero.
Yeah, you said as we were before taping, like this is almost in a way, he did do good in his case in that he's trumped them in a way, because he's jumped the gun in trying to end the conservatorship before even Britney's asked for it. And in a way that does make him look better, right? I mean, in a way, Rosengart has to be a little frustrated that Jamie's team decided to do this, because he's trying to basically end it before they've even gotten to that point.
Yeah, I give all the credit to Free Britney and Rosengart. The only reason why Jamie's doing this is because he had no other choice. So the strategy that Rosengart used was sound, which was get rid of Jamie, have him excluded from this thing. Then he goes in to seek a termination of the conservatorship without having to fight Holland and Knight and Jamie over whether the conservatorship should end. So he wanted to get rid of his opponent, then have the fight over the termination. Makes perfect sense. And because of the enormous pressure that was placed on Jamie, with Britney having a real attorney representing her, he was now he was in the corner. He had nowhere to go, and he could have fought. But now he's saying like, oh, I'm going to end it myself. Well, hey, fine. Now we can skip over step one and go straight to step two. Credit to Britney, credit to Rosengart, credit to Free Britney. It's not any credit to Jamie.
Yeah, so while technically sure he's done good here, he's finally done the right thing, the motivations are not good. It seems like Jamie is still out for himself, and Jamie is still out to protect himself. And here, the final point, number 7. So all these things, every other point is great. Everything here that, determining the conservatorship, the person is no longer required. Conservative person, all discharging Jody. Everything is here is great. And then we get to number 7, discharging James Spears as conservator upon settlement and approval of a final report and account by the court. So this is his sort of still like, yep, it's all good. We're going to end the conservatorship. I will leave, but you're paying me. It's still what he's trying to do here at the end. Right, Christopher?
That's it. That's the condition. It's the same that we saw earlier, but just not the spotlight around it. So with the fake resignation document, he's saying, hey, I will resign when it's the right time. And how he defined that was when all my fees are paid and everything is settled in the way that I want it settled. This is much more delicately stated, but it's the same point. The conservatorship needs to end, he says, but I need to get paid. My lawyers need to get paid. And then I'm sure we're going to hear him come up and say, oh, and this bond that I have needs to be exonerated. One of the people in the movement on Twitter had noticed in this document that the bond company, if you scroll up a bit, the bond company was listed there as in that table.
Bond company. Yeah, I do remember reading that. I was going to ask you.
So that was a great catch, because the bond company is not a party. I mean, they're on the hook for $48 million, so I'm sure they're monitoring this, but they're not a party to it. So they have specifically noticed the bond company. So Jamie wants the bond company coming into court on the 29th saying, hey, let us free too.
Right.
But I got to think Rosengart is going to say, no, we're not letting you free. We're letting my client free.
Right, which will only make a bigger headache on that court date where there was so much to go through. Just so for those that missed our stream last night, I do want to give you Rosengart's statement as well. This filing represents a massive legal victory for Britney as well as vindication. Rosengart said of the filing, having exposed his misconduct and proper plan to hold his daughter hostage by trying to extract a multi-million-dollar settlement, Mr. Spears has now effectively surrendered. There is no settlement. So he's made it abundantly clear that they are not going to accept these terms or any terms from Jamie, which is good for us. And he's going to demand accountability. That was another statement he said somewhere else. He's made a few now. To the extent that Mr. Spears believes he can try to avoid accountability and justice, including sitting for a sworn deposition and answering other discovery under oath, he is incorrect, and our investigation into financial mismanagement and other issues will continue. Now, it's very clear that's what Britney wants. She made that clear when she did her testimony before. She wants her family in jail, to quote her directly. Again, you got to look at all this, step back, and I appreciate Christopher's insight here, because it really does feel like Jamie is against the walls, doesn't know what to do, is finally doing the right thing, seemingly, for the press to try and save face and distract everybody, while still demanding his money and attempting to sort of walk away clean without them actually doing an investigation. But it's clear Rosengart's not going to allow that. And even if the court does pull this, Christopher, there's no way they can stop any future investigation into Jamie, right?
Yeah, so what I'm reading into this, when you have a court case, there's really two tracks going on. There's the statements that you make to the court in documents like this, and then there's the behind the scenes wheeling and dealing and discussions between the attorneys. So what I'm reading into Rosengart's statement is that Jamie's attorney had been reaching out to Mr. Rosengart, trying to negotiate a deal, saying like, hey, we can end this whole thing. Just give me a wallet deal, give Jamie some cash, give him a release of claims, and we'll just quietly step aside. I am sure that's being floated, or was floated. Rosengart said, that ain't happening. We're going to go to court and have your client removed if you don't agree to it unconditionally. Jamie wouldn't accept that, so that's why he then came over the top with this document to say, oh, well, then I'm going to file a thing to end it, and I'm going to try and get the court to approve the terms that you or your client wouldn't agree to. So that's what I think what happened in the background, and that's why he leaked it to the press. That's why he's gone into court saying, hey, I'm the hero. I want to end this. I love my daughter, hoping that Judge Penny would have some sympathy or whatever it is that he wants from the court, and to start approving these transactions that Britney and her attorney will never agree to.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That last point, guys, rewind and listen to it again, because that's exactly, to me, what's happening. And so can the court, because a lot of us don't trust the court, Christopher, could the court just agree to Jamie's terms and actually protect him in this?
Well, so there's limitations on it. So the court could approve all transactions just as it did before. So what's outstanding right now are these, media matter, fake legal fees, and other fees that he's racked up, are well over, I'm sure, $1.5 million. Compensation to Jamie since he was approved comp last time, and other transactions that are at stake. So the court could say, hey, I'm approving all that stuff. But the probate code says that Britney can still sue her father for a transaction, even if it was approved by the court, if the transaction involved fraud or breach of fiduciary duty or conspiracy. So, and that would include a misrepresentation of fact or an omission of a material fact. So if Jamie's accounting said, hey, I want this paid for, but he left out a fact, and the court said, okay, I'll approve it, all Rosengart has to do is saying, hey, we're going to still be able to sue Jamie for that transaction, even though it was approved by the court, because the court didn't have all the information when it approved it. So it's not the end of the line if the court approves it. And that's why I think all of the transactions for the last 13 years can be challenged under that probate code section, because even though they were approved, I would bet that facts were omitted, because it's very hard to disclose all the facts. So facts were probably omitted. All those can be challenged. And also the probate conservatorship was never placed on her properly in the first place, and her attorney was never properly appointed in the first place. So I would hope that Mr. Rosengart's going to go back and say, from day one, all transactions are being challenged, and sue him for that, and ask that the bond remain in place until that litigation is ended. And I would hope that the court would say, yeah, I'm not going to let the bond company off the hook until all these claims are resolved. And if she did say, I'm going to let the bond company off the hook, Mr. Rosengart could ask the court to put a stay or a little pause button on that order, run up to the Court of Appeal and say, Court of Appeal, you need to protect my client. You can't let $48 million of insurance go to the wind. You need to put that on hold while I make these claims. And I would think the Court of Appeal would say, yeah, we're going to make the bond company remain on the hook for a while until these claims are litigated.
Yeah, and all this fighting is clearly going to cost Jamie a fortune as to why he's really fighting for this extra million, because he's going to need it, right? Once this is over, he's got no money for his own attorney's fees, which he's going to need a lot of, because Britney's going to come with her entire bank account fueled with the anger that she's had for all these years and just take him out. And so I imagine, even though he's collected a lot of money, that this is going to be very costly for him, correct?
Yeah, he's going to get roasted. And, you know, if we look back at the history, he used Britney's money to fight Britney.
Right.
He used Britney's money to fight people who were speaking out against Jamie, trying to protect Britney. He sued a fan.
Right.
So that he had Britney's bankroll supporting this venture, that's going to be cut off. His credit card's going to be taken from him. And now he's going to have to finance this on his own dime. Do you think Holland and Knight is going to sit there and be like, yeah, let's do a whole bunch of legal services for this guy?
No.
They're all going down and fighting each other at this point.
Right. And they are hoping maybe there is some money still that could be made. And so that's why they're maybe on the hook now. But depending on how this goes, it's why it's such a crucial point and why Rosengart is so far doing the right things and making it clear that we're going to do these investigations, because it's the last thing Jamie wants. Regardless of whether you think Jamie's right or wrong, which I think he's wrong, the cost alone is going to be astronomical for him, and sweet karma just coming back. And I can't imagine Britney isn't going to want to spend every dime she has to spite him based on all the actions that he's done over the years. So lots more coming. This document, again, it's a good sign. It is a good sign. We have to be objective here. He did basically acknowledge she doesn't need this conservatorship, and he's the one who put her in it. So massively good there. However, the intentions behind it, still very nasty. Christopher, final word?
It's not done yet. And she's not free. This is a piece of paper. It has not restored a single right to her. So we got to continue with the intensity. We're going to be there on September 29th. We're going to live stream before, during, and after. So the support needs to keep up. It's not over with yet. And now really it's the judge. It's the judge that has to do the right thing, because everyone's saying the same thing, end this thing, and it's really just now about the details, but it's not over yet.
It's amazing. And while I have you, it's so imperative, because I've had people call me out, Christopher, like, oh, Andy's just profiting on all this. Andy's just out there doing this over and over again, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, Free Britney, us, the media that are covering it, we really have made a difference, because we've created pressure on this court system, on Jamie, on these attorneys, to stop doing what they've been doing for 13 years. Without these bullhorns, without us rallying this community who has been so intensely scrutinizing every little piece about it, it could have continued for another decade or however long. The reality is our voices do matter. Our voices are important, and I'm so grateful to everybody in this community who have not shut up yet. It needs it now more than ever. That's why I've been covering this so in depth, because I know the timing is crucial. If we don't stop the pressure right now, the courts and Jamie could still get away with this. It is not over. Do not believe the headlines, and I'm so grateful for people like Christopher who are out there helping us get this done. Christopher, thank you so much. People can find you over here on YouTube, correct? On the hashtag The Law. Check out CCMESQ on YouTube to support the channel. Always great having you, Christopher. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Andy.
And we will be live actually on September 29th. It seems like that hearing is not going anywhere. So Christopher will be there live at the courthouse on the steps. We'll be reporting live. I'll be patching other special guests in. You will not want to miss that. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Christopher's channel, as well as here on Popcorn Planet. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell for all alerts, smash the like button, as we say, and leave a comment down below to help the algorithm to get the word out so people have the facts about what's actually happening. Stay tuned for more coverage here on Popcorn Planet. Thanks for watching, everybody.